Good day. Welcome to Meet the Board, a Facebook Live video series where we'll be introducing you to some of our board members. Today, we're going to be meeting, and we are meeting with Ken Hamik of Humboldt Green. He's one of our more recent board members, and he is a futurist here at Humboldt Green, and we're going to be finding out just what does that mean and what does Ken do and what kind of resource is he to the business community, and hopefully you'll find it of interest and know that the Chamber is here for you and in a variety of ways. So good day, and you just came from a big road trip, I think?
Yeah, thanks, Joellen. Just came from the Bay Area in Santa Rosa. They were talking about cannabis regulations for the state, and so we need to know about that so that we can make sure that Humboldt's prepared for all these, and the farmers up here. We have a lot of other business people. You know, when you think about cannabis, most people think of the primary business, like the cultivation and such, but there's accountants, attorneys, things like that. There's a whole wide range of people in the business community that support that whole industry. So we want to make sure that it's done the right way. A lot of what Humboldt Green does is consult. They come to the table here to find out what's the best way forward for them, how to write a business plan, marketing, but also just to understand this really, I call it, as a futurist, the messy middle, to understand a little bit about where you are on this cannabis roadmap and what's the best way forward for you and your family and your business.
Wow, so good timing for you to be joining the Chamber of Commerce and help us bridge all of these worlds officially.
Officially, yeah. I've been up here on and off for about 6 years, about solid for 3 years now, and I've fallen in love with Humboldt and the community up here. I've also discovered that I come from the Silicon Valley world and the Bay Area largely, and there's a brain trust down there that's surrounded a microchip and the internet and everything else. But there's a brain trust up here, and I've discovered this over the last 4 or 5 years, and it's remarkable, the talent set and the skill set that's up here. So I'm just rediscovering and trying to connect these people with each other. One of the things that Humboldt Green does as an event producer is Canifest every year, which we consider very much a community event. So we invite, you know, whether it's a police chief. Okay.
Oh, weird.
Okay. And so Canifest does all that for the community, but one of the things that on one of the panels that I did this year was Into the Light, talking about how as cannabis becomes law and regulation and just another business, there's a lot of people coming out of the hills, and they're joining the community in ways that they hadn't before. So I feel like, in a way, my role with the board at the Chamber of Commerce is to kind of build bridges and to invite people in to have conversations, even if maybe sometimes they disagree with each other. I think we have a lot more in common than we don't. And I travel a lot to the Bay Area and to LA for banking issues and things like that, to Sacramento, of course, because they're curious about what's going on up here. And I'm finding that people are really want to know where all this came from and where it's going. So we're connecting those bridges to Humboldt Green. And I'm also a partner in Hummingbird Wellness, which is a dispensary we're hoping to open pretty soon in McKinleyville. So we're on a number of different fronts trying to keep this healing and wellness component of the plant very much alive and well in Humboldt.
Very relevant, yeah, very apropos for the times. Although a futurist, actually. Speaking of that, define that for us, can you?
Yeah, in fact, my journey started up here 6 years ago when my daughter decided to go to Humboldt State University. And one of the first people I met, I didn't know who he was at the time, was Roland Richmond, and he was the president of HSU. Invited me out to dinner when he heard that I was a futurist, and he said, "So what's the future of Humboldt County?" And that was 6 years ago. And I said, "Well, you're screwed." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Because I looked at the economic development report and other things, and it said you didn't even recognize probably 3.5 to 4 out of every $5 spent and earned in the county came from a plant. It wasn't even in the table of contents." And he acknowledged that, so he started introducing me to some local banking people, investors, as well as, you know, economic development folks. And that journey then led to getting all these finding all these patterns that connect. So in a lot of ways, I played a small role, I think, in making sure that the dialogue was becoming more robust and less antagonistic. And so I think that we've solved a lot of problems, and I think it's spread to the rest of California. I think there was an influence by the leaders up here in Humboldt that now has caused change even in Sacramento. So as that happens, we want to continue that, but we want to do it on behalf of the environment. So a lot of the goals that we have up here are to make sure that the environment's protected and that we're recognizing that, because it's the rivers and the ocean and the redwoods is such a huge part of our community up here.
And behind the scenes, as maybe we see if there's any questions or comments here, we have Jody Marin, another board member. Kind of a brief look at the board member. We won't be interviewing Jody right now, but I don't know if you're turning the camera around and say hi.
Hello. I'm right here. I'm manning questions. And so if anybody has questions while we're watching, I'll read them off to everyone. And if not, I will monitor this video afterwards and let Ken know if any questions come up. So if you are seeing this after it's live, you still have time to ask questions.
And so maybe to wrap up, you're definitely a connector of dots, and not just dots locally, but along the entire coast, perhaps, yeah?
Yeah, even we're Pennsylvania's calling us. A lot of other states that are going through similar regulatory changes. I think I'm really honored to have been asked last year to be on the board with the Arcata Chamber, because it's fun. And I'm going to these mixers and to the big annual awards dinner that we had. And it's kind of fun to see that part of the community too, the business community. I've been involved with Community Pride and Peace, which is a nonprofit that's trying to help out with some problems in the community and try to find solutions for those problems. And I find that I hope my role on the board is to encourage the business community to also try to lend a hand in solving those problems too, because, you know, business folks, as my partner Steve Geeter says at Humboldt Green here, you got a problem, I've got 5 solutions. And so if we can bring that into some of these issues that we have here along the 101 corridor, not just here in Arcata, but Eureka, Fortuna, McKinleyville, even Southern Humboldt. If we connect all those dots also with the people off the 101 in the farming communities, then I think we've really got a future. And that's what I'm up here for, as a futurist.
Well, we really appreciate your service, and on behalf of the 400 plus members and the entire business community that we do consider, I thank you for your service and contributions. So thanks for listening, and we'll be back.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, you guys.